Member for Climate Change and Environment, taking place on Monday, the 16th of June 2025. I'm Councillor Richard Sylvester, the Executive Cabinet Member, and I'd like to welcome councillors and officers of Bolton Council to this meeting, and to members of the public if you're watching the recorded version on the Bolton Council YouTube channel. Item number 1 on the agenda is the monitoring of Executive Cabinet Member decisions, and this report was sent out by email prior to this meeting. First of all, is there any questions on the monitoring report at all? If there's no questions or comments, if we have a look at the report.
Councillor Hewitt's just put his hand up.
Okay. Sorry, Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Executive Cabinet Member. No, it was just on the Bolton Heat Network. There was just no action progress written up in the table. I just wondered if there was any further update at all, verbally, perhaps. Thank you.
Well, we did have a special scrutiny committee meeting. I don't know if you was at that meeting, Councillor Hewitt. It was a confidential meeting. However, the director can update us as to what the next steps of the process are. Over to you, Director.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sylvester. Only a brief update, in as much as that I expect at your next scheduled meeting there will be an update in the monitoring report. As you indicate, there was a scrutiny session which afforded members the opportunity to understand a little bit more about the planned procurement process. Flowing from that particular scrutiny session, there was a recommendation, I think probably would be the appropriate terminology, that we bring together a group of elected members to have the opportunity to better understand the progression of the heat network project, and I've been talking to colleagues in Democratic Services about organising a session, I think on the 2nd of July. I'm not too sure whether that invitation has gone out yet. If it hasn't, it will be imminently, and at that meeting we'll provide an overview, Councillor Hewitt, of the project's current status, the work which is ongoing at present in relation to gearing up for a procurement exercise, so to take the heat network opportunity to the market, and then following that meeting we'll be able to update the next Executive Cabinet Member monitoring report for the scheduled meeting. So I think probably, as I say, that particular session, which is for the benefit of members, is probably the most appropriate place to provide a more detailed update, if that's okay.
Sure. Does that answer the question, Councillor Hewitt?
Thanks, Councillor Sylvester. Yeah. I'll await for the further update to follow after the contextual briefing. Thank you. Cheers.
Brilliant. Okay. So back to the monitoring report. I think one of these can be removed, Ian, from the 12th of February 2024, and it's on page 3. The procurement of traffic management and verge maintenance on high-speed roads. And that one, against it, it says contracts awarded and commenced in September 2024. So I think that one can be removed. And I just wanted to ask about 2 of them on the report. The increase in establishment for new business through traded service provision, and also the services to schools, amendments to vacant posts. Those 2 decisions, the first one was taken in August 24 and the second one in November 24. I wondered if those 2 had been completed and can also be removed from the monitoring report now. Director, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sylvester. I'll defer to colleagues on the first item, but certainly in terms of services for schools, there has been some progress in that regard. However, the team are still working through the proposed organisational structure arrangements. There is a shortlisting process which has been in play recently in relation to a new position, operations manager. That recruitment process hasn't yet concluded. Once it has done so, and hopefully we're in a position to appoint into that role, then that particular item hopefully then can be closed out on the monitoring report. But again, we'll report back, and forgive me, but I'm conscious that following a small review of portfolios, school meal service now sits with Councillor Ayub under his portfolio of responsibility. Yes. So we just need to pick that up through as I say, Councillor Ayub's portfolio as well. But we are nudging ever closer to being able to close out that process.
Sure. Okay, if there's no other questions on the monitoring report, I'll note that report. And then we go to item 2 on the agenda, which is the Directorate of Place Finance Report 2024-25 outturn. And we'll go over to Janet Pollard.
Thank you, Chair. This report contains the financial outturn position for the Directorate of Place. The financial outturn position for the Directorate was an overspend of £325,000. For this portfolio is a small overspend of £16,000. There are no significant variances to report for this portfolio. For the 24-25 programme budgeted savings, the 24-25 Directorate of Place programme was £862,000, all of which have been achieved. The report seeks approval for a cross-cutting item called Review of Agency Overtime and Vacancies, which is for £104,000, and it relates to the 25-27 savings programme. The first part of the option is a proposed deletion of a long-standing vacant post, which falls in a different portfolio. Approval is sought within this report and this portfolio for the balance of the £33,000, and that's proposed to be found by reducing budgets across the whole of the Directorate and to reflect the actual spend position for areas such as subscriptions, contract management and overtime. The Directorate does not have any general reserves. Capital expenditure for the Directorate of Place was £40 million. The balance of available funding has been transferred as slippage into the 25-26 capital programme. Key financial findings for this portfolio can be found in the report, and service-specific findings can be found within the appendices. The Executive Cabinet member is asked to note the contents of the report and to approve the recommendations in section 11 of this report. I'm happy to take any questions.
You're on mute then, Councillor.
Could you not hear me?
No. We can now.
You can now. Right, brilliant. I was just saying, are there any questions for Janet on this report?
Sorry, Chair. For a little while.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said, Janet, then.
Oh, sorry, I've lost sound for a couple of seconds there.
Yes,
So was there a question for me? Sorry.
No, I was asking, I lost sound as well. Okay. Some members on the call couldn't hear me. Then you've lost sound. Perhaps it's just a general problem. I was asking members if there were any questions for you, but there appears to be none. That's so if there are no questions, I'll note the outturn revenue, capital and reserve financial position for my portfolio at the 31st of March 2025. Approved the proposed phasing of the 2025 to 2027 savings programme. Approved the proposed savings to contribute to the 2025-2027 savings target, which fall under my own portfolio. Approve revisions made to the capital programme, which fall under my own portfolio. Authorise the Director of Place to call off under a suitable and compliant mechanism of frameworks in accordance with standing orders for contracts where the value of the works is less than 400,000 to enable the capital programme to progress, and note the key findings of the report. So all that is noted and approved.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Janet. So we'll go on to item number 3 on the agenda, and this is the reprocurement of the bulky waste contract. We'll go over to our our head of service, Laurie Hunter.
Great, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So bulky waste collection service, it is essentially a service that we deliver at the moment. Obviously, it's the collection of bulky items. Residents can ring up our contact centre at this point in time to book up to 5 or 10 items with our contact centre. That then gets passed on to our current contractor, and they arrange the collections booked on a specific date. So that has been in need for reprocurement for a little while now. We've completed that reprocurement, and this is for authorization to appoint a contractor. Essentially, we're not looking to make any major changes, just minor improvements to the service. So it would still remain at £40 for 5 items, £80 for 10 items. That would remain as it is for residents. They shouldn't see much of a difference. What they will see as an improvement is a new option to make the process much more smoother, particularly for offering online booking system rather than having to wait on the phone and call the contact centre and wait for half hours or whatever the time is on that specific date. There'll be an automated booking system that residents can use, so it should improve the service for our residents. So essentially, there's that minor improvement. What we have also considered as part of this procurement is, I believe in February budget, there was an approval for an element of free bulky waste collection for some disadvantaged communities within Bolton. So to manage that, we have organised for the residents on council tax benefit, because the council has access to that sort of data. They could apply again via the online platform. They would sort of take a photo or scan in their award letter for council tax benefit. That would then be assessed within 24 hours by the contact centre and a response provided with their booking confirmed. So that's another sort of improvement to the service that we're offering for residents. Other than that, it's a relatively straightforward process. We have gone through the procurement process. We have done evaluation in line with procurement regulations, and have reached a preferred bidder who would be appointed subsequent to authorisation from the executive cabinet member. Are there any questions? It's a very whistle-stop tour of it, but there's, as I say, it's very similar to what residents experience at the moment, just with those 2 minor improvements to the service.
So any questions for Laurie on this report? We'll go over to Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Executive Cabinet Member. Yeah, it was actually on 2.7 around the bulky waste collection service. It sort of notes in the report, sort of, once this budget is spent, this free service will cease. So is this sort of like a first come, first serve sort of basis throughout the financial year? Will it effectively, if that budget goes, then people won't be able to access that service? That's sort of like part 1 of the question.
Yeah, am I right to answer that,
yeah.
Councillors? Yeah, okay. Sure. So essentially, yes, there's what was agreed in the February budget was £100,000 would be allocated for this free service. So that cost would be covered by that £100,000 budget of all bookings. Once that 100,000 is spent, that element of the online system would be switched off, essentially. So we would make that clear. There's a set of terms and conditions that we've drafted in line with that. We're essentially stating 1 booking per household, so that we can ensure that as many people as possible can benefit from the service. And then we'll just ensure that that is made clear in our terms and conditions and on our website when it's updated.
Okay, and just a follow-up question, if that's okay. Yeah. So thanks for that answer. Yeah. So first, if we run out of money, thinking about the problem the opposite way, if there is not enough subscription to the service, and effectively people on council in receipt of council tax benefit are not enough customers, if you like, will the budget be thrown open to others who perhaps might require a bulky waste collection service, or is it just sort of simply restricted down to that one household per item sort of thing? So thank you very much.
We'll go over to our Assistant Director, Gary Parker, who's indicated.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Councillor Hewitt, for the question. At the moment, the approach is for that free waste collection or bulky waste collection service up to the tune of £100,000, who for the individuals that hit the qualifying criteria, which is council tax support. I believe it is highly unlikely we will see that undersubscribed. If it is undersubscribed, we can take a quarterly review position and assess the spend against budget, and then we can reconvene and take a position on how we're going to meet that spend in year. But I do not believe it'll be undersubscribed, Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sparker. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hewitt. Any further questions on this report? If not, then I'll authorise the Director of Place to appoint Bolton Community Furniture Store for the collection of bulky household waste in accordance with the Council's standing orders relating to contracts following a procurement exercise. Also authorise the Borough Solicitor to carry out all necessary legal formalities, and authorise the Borough Treasurer to carry out all necessary financial formalities. So that's approved and authorised. So thank you, Laurie, for the time you've spent on putting this report and all the organisation together for this. It's appreciated. Sure. So we go to item number 4 now, which is service.
John Dyson's indicated, Councillor Sylvester.
Sorry,
it's just indicated now.
Sorry, Director. We'll go over to yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Sylvester. It was just a point of caution in exercising your approval. I'm conscious that the decision to appoint the preferred supplier is obviously subject to this executive cabinet member decision this evening. Following your decision, there then is a requirement to move into the appointment phase, which brings into play a standstill period. So until that period has elapsed, we're not yet able to confirm the successful bidders. So we anticipate that this will be due process.
Okay.
However, until that standstill period has been concluded, we can't actually confirm the appointment itself. So just a point of cautionary note, if I may, just in relation to the actual award process. Colleagues on the team, please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is the status of the procurement process at this point in time. So a standstill period to follow the actual formal offer of contract. We'll then be able to confirm, Councillor Sylvester, in the next monitoring report, the successful provider.
Okay. It is on the front of the report, which has been sent out to everybody and which is on the council website. So that's in the public domain, which I've read out on the front of the report. That's the recommendation to me. But
Okay.
But it is, the authorisation is to yourself as director anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's not on the report I'm reading, Councillor Sylvester, which was issued, but that's fine. It's I think as long as there's an understanding in relation to the standstill period, that's absolutely fine, and we can, as I say, we can report back through you and obviously through the next executive cabinet member monitoring report in terms of finalisation of the contract award.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Hewitt.
Thanks, Executive Cabinet Member. So just point of clarification on my particular note. So it might not be necessarily so that Bolton Community Furniture Store, I think was the name, is the one that is particularly awarded, because the authorization, just to be clear, is for you to begin the a process, basically. So the award, the contract awarding process, if that's how I read that correctly, that's right. So it's not a done deal. It's not particularly signed off yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if again through the chair, Councillor Hewitt, the process is moving towards conclusion. The evaluation process has taken place, and there is a preferred contractor in place. But we need to dot I's and cross T's in terms of the actual award process itself before we can actually formalise the final contract award. So that process will be a relatively short-term process following this evening's executive cabinet member decision, and we'll be in a position to, as I say, confirm the award over the coming short-term period. And certainly by the time we next convene through this executive cabinet member forum, we'll be able to report on the successful bidder, or confirmation of the successful bidder, as I say, through the monitoring report. But we are in the very final stages of contract award.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't hear you, Councillor Sylvester.
I can't see anything at my end.
We can now.
Right. I don't understand what occurred then, but anyway, you can hear me again. Yeah, brilliant. So item number 4 is service improvements for neighbourhood delivery, and it's our head of service, Laurie Hunter, again, who will take us through this report.
Thank you, Councillor Sylvester. Again, this is in reflection of a full council decision on the 12th of February this year, which was decided to reinvest 300,000 in neighbourhood delivery services, and that's essentially, as quoted in the report, to reverse previous cuts in street sweeping and litter picking, removal of waste, fly tipping, and additional street sweeping in hot spots. So we're essentially, section 1.2 of the report contains a very short list of the description of the cuts that were made and commenced in 1st of April 2023. All of those savings were met within that year. What we have found is that resources over the last 2 years have been quite stretched, and it has been quite a challenge keeping on top of the normal schedule. So that funding, as part of this report, we propose to explain how we'd be implementing the 300,000. So the neighbourhood delivery team is essentially a multi-skilled team. So they do a combination of mechanical street cleansing, litter bin emptying, and that sort of service. We then have got a grounds maintenance team and associated services, and there is support to volunteers as well. All of the operatives within that team are multi-skilled, so that depending on the priorities and scheduled need of the service, they can flex and complete any of those kind of 3 broad areas of work. The service itself hasn't changed since the reductions. The cleansing remains at a 5-weekly, 12-month a year schedule, and that was the same previously prior to the cuts as well. Grounds maintenance, grass cutting is primarily 5-weekly as well, and obviously that's weather dependent, and it's approximately 6 months of the year from around April to September. And also another part of grounds maintenance that we do more in the winter months is the hedge shrub trimming, which happens outside of bird nesting season once per year between October and March. So if you look at the table 1 on top of page 5, that provides the sort of breadth of spend that we're proposing as the 300k to sort of try and bring those services back up to a deliverable state. So essentially the first is being a new charge hand being implemented in post at grade F, which is the normal grade for more of a supervisory level, and that will just ensure that these additional posts are kept on schedule. There are 5 neighbourhood care operatives, 4 for the general service, and 1 specifically dedicated to collecting volunteer bags. Particularly on a Monday, what we find is there's quite a lot of collection. Our volunteers are very active over the weekend, and on a Monday, Tuesday, we struggle with our normal scheduled work. We struggle to keep on top of those green bags. So if we've got a dedicated vehicle and staff member for that work, it'll enable us to keep Bolton as tidy as possible following a weekend. Also in support of weekends and support businesses in all of our town centre and village centres is to return weekend and bank holiday working to weekends. So we as part of the cuts, we removed manual litter picker and some of our street sweeping elements at the weekend. This will enable us to bring some of that overtime working on a voluntary basis into that service. And then finally, for sort of grounds maintenance equipment, we need a little bit of a maintenance fund and consumables fund to enable us to deliver those additional posts. So essentially, that's a very whistle-stop tour of the report. We will look to, we've got some monitoring elements as well that we're looking to keep at pace when introducing these services, just to ensure that the 300k that's being invested is being monitored quite regularly, and it's delivering the improvements that we hope to deliver. And I think, again, a very short description of the report. Are there any questions?
So any questions for Laurie on this report? And go over to Councillor Conor Bennett.
It's not really a question, it's really a comment, and it's a nice comment at that. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Just that our neighbourhood cleansing team in Farnworth South is absolutely amazing. I want to go on record saying that. Andy, he does an absolutely amazing job. He's really dedicated and he's so committed, and we're just so grateful for that. Just wanted to put it on record.
Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to hear that. And Head of Service and Assistant Director, if you can forward on those thanks, please.
Absolutely can, yes,
Yeah.
no problem.
So we'll go over to Councillor Ali.
Yeah, it's just a clarification on the street cleaning that you said, the extra street cleaning, targeted street cleaning. I was just wondering whether that would be targeted near schools more.
Is there a particular issue around schools that you think it requires? So I think some schools might,
Yeah.
I suppose it'll be dependent on need. So it depends
Right.
on sort of a dynamic assessment, I suppose, that the operatives take with regards to cleanliness levels. So it'd be areas that they would return to. So quite often the schedule will work on a cyclical basis, and areas that appear to be a little bit more of a challenge, they will make note and they will return to those areas. But why? Is there a reason why you mentioned schools in particular, Councillor Ali?
Yeah, I think Councillor Sylvester's aware. We've had some cases where, like Wolfenden School and such, there's so much litter there. You know, a street cleaner will come clean it, and then like it's almost. So we've got like Wolfenden School. That's one of the areas, and there's another one on Escrick Street. So it's just those two areas seem like, you know, they could do with being targeted because of the extra litter there. And I was just thinking, if there's extra money in the pot, and you mentioned about targeted street cleaning, I just wondered if it was possible to target a couple of areas like that get so much litter. We are trying to address it, and we have asked for a larger bin to be put outside Wolfenden School as well. But I just wondered if that was possible, that's all.
Can certainly feed that back to the team and just check
Thank
that whether or not those are one of the areas that they would normally pay a little bit more attention to, and I'll email you afterwards if that would be suitable. Great.
Excellent.
Yes, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Laurie. Any further questions on this report at all? If not, then I'll authorise the Director of Place to implement the following service investment proposals following the Council's decision taken in February 2025, and that is to increase the service revenue budget by 300,000 from 2025-26 and ongoing annually thereafter, to fund the additional provisions described in the report, and the above investment is to include a permanent increase to the service establishment by 6 full-time officers as described in the report. So that's approved. So therefore we go to item number 5. This is the increase in establishment within the Environmental Education and Enforcement unit. And who's taking us through this report? Which officer? Yourself, Gary. So we'll go
Yes,
over to
Councillor.
you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, councillors and colleagues. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so this is the increased establishment within the Environmental Education and Enforcement Unit report. So the Environmental Education Enforcement Unit is responsible for changing the behaviours of the borough's residents, local businesses and visitors to the town. They are having a multi-layered approach, which includes raising awareness, providing alternative options and engaging with customers and communities. They carry out a number of enforcement actions, such as fly tipping and illegal dumping, business waste duty of care, which is the legal documentation required to dispose of your waste, domestic waste receptacle enforcement, illegal waste carriers, untidy land and nuisance, litter, dogfowl and graffiti, and abandoned vehicles. So very high profile work, which I know a lot of you councillors are very engaged with and very grateful for that the team undertake. The team can issue fixed penalty notices and support with prosecution cases, and the work also includes community engagement, education around enforcement issues. Now in the budget as set out in 25-27, £54,000 revenue was allocated to this team, and that allows the team to increase their establishment from 4 members of staff to 5 members of staff, allowing more of that work to be undertaken. That member of staff will be a grade G. The finances are in place and support services have signed off. The finances, there's no HR implications other than the increase in establishment, and a consultation period with trade unions has taken place. The ask of this report is for yourself, Chair, to look at the recommendations as set out on the front of the report and in section 8 to allow this team to increase by 1 full-time equivalent officer. Any questions?
Okay, Gary. Thank you very much. Any questions on this report for Gary? I think everybody's in agreement with this proposal. So I'll approve the increase in the Environmental Education and Enforcement Unit establishment by 1 enforcement officer. This position would be permanent and filled in accordance with the Council's HR policies. I also authorise the Borough Solicitor to complete any necessary legal formalities and authorise the Borough Treasurer to complete the necessary financial formalities. So that's all approved and authorised. So thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you, Councillor.
Brilliant. We go on to item number 6, which is the budget allocation 2025 to 2026, parks and play areas. Are you also taking us through this one, Gary?
I've got the next 3 reports, Councillor, yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay, so this is the budget allocation 25-26 parks and play areas. In the budget of 25-26, a sum of £600,000 was allocated specifically for the improvement of parks and play areas across the borough. The report has been circulated, and in section 2 of that report and in appendix 2 you can see where the allocation of that funding is to be spent. I don't intend to go through it with a line by line, but you can see we have invested in our major parks and contributed significantly to lots of other areas across the borough. One thing to note with this report, councillors, that any sites subject to works and permanent structures which have been identified as charitable land status will be reported and authorised by the charitable land panel before any work can commence, and it is the officer's intention to have that panel pulled together to consider this proposal. There are no HR implications of this. It's not a recruitment of staff or an addition in our structure, but a pure investment in our parks and green spaces. The ask of this report, Councillor, is for you to consider the recommendations as set out in section 8 and on the front cover of this report. Councillor, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's come back.
Yes.
Yes.
Brilliant. Any questions for Gary on this report? And first of all, we'll go over to Councillor Ali.
Hi, yeah. It's just a little one, really. At our Holywell Community Alliance, it was picked up that there's two little parks, Mer Street and Elgin Street, which are probably two of the smallest parks I've ever seen in Bolton. And they're not on that list of, you know, improvements to parks. And I was thinking it won't cost much just to tidy those two little ones up. So maybe you could look at them.
Did you say Elgin Street?
Elgin Street.
Yeah, that's on. That's
Oh, that's
on
on
the report. That says 16,000. 16,000 to be spent at Elgin
Right.
Street.
Sorry, my mistake. So it's just
Yeah.
Mer Street then, and it's just something that was highlighted at the last Holywell Community Alliance meeting. I should have
Right.
really said it's already been looked at. It's just Mer
Right.
Street. Thank you.
Well, officers obviously have the ordinary budget of the council to look at. If you're saying it just needs tidying up, that should be out of mainstream funding anyway. We have to remember this is additional funding.
Yeah.
And I can see there is another park in Halliwell Ward, ABC Park. That's in your ward. Yeah. So there
It's
is a
just
little
that-
bit extra in your ward. Yeah.
There is. It's just that Mer Street, maybe I'm saying it needs tidying up. Nothing's been done to that park for a long time. And I think it's like Elgin Street, just a very small park.
Sure.
And I think ABC Park gets more attention than these little parks. Yet, when you look at the area, it's in the middle of tight terrace streets and there's nothing else around there. So I think that would really benefit a lot of people.
Can I come in there, please, Chair?
Sure, of course, Assistant Director, yes.
So the thing to remember with this report is this is one of the many layers we're fortunate enough to have invested in Bolton through that team. So in the 24-25 budget report, there was a budget amendment of £700,000 to spend in our parks and green spaces. Section 106 money's been identified to the tune of 391,000, and an additional 45,000 of external funding has been found and supported, some of that being from ward funds. In addition to that, we've got this budget allocation of £600,000. So we have multiple layers of work taking place, and in fact this is the most work I've seen in those green spaces across Bolton since I've started, which is a really strong position for us to be in, because normally we've been in one of sort of withdrawing from and cutting that funding, but we've actually got £1.73 million to invest. So when we're looking at these parks, this report is dealing with those that are listed in the appendix 2, but we need to bear in mind when you're asking me to look at Mer Street Park or anything else, I need to look at all the other investments that are taking place to make sure it's not covered elsewhere. So this isn't the only investment taking place in those parks and green spaces across Bolton, Councillor.
Point taken. Thank you.
Councillor, I can't hear you. I'm guessing you're asking Councillor Connor Bennett to ask a question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Councillor.
Right, yeah. So it's Councillor Hewitt next.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Gary, for that previous answer, Assistant Director. It's interesting, actually, because I know that yourself and my ward colleague, John Walsh and Councillor Walsh and Councillor Fairclough have been sort of like plugging away at you for parks improvements in Astley Bridge Park to sort of celebrate its sort of centenary. So thank you for that, because I know that we've accessed sort of our ward funds to do that. So like you say, there are many layers. But in terms of this report and Appendix 2, I'm sort of really interested in how this list was generated and arrived at, because it seems to focus on particular areas of the town, sort of like central areas of the town, but perhaps not others. And I was just wondering if there's been any sort of wider consultation with councillors or different wards as to just how the spread of this capital investment was going to be achieved, because I'm speaking to colleagues and they're sort of like, well, we seem like we're missing out. So, or our area might be missing out on this capital investment. So, can you talk to perhaps how this list was generated or where the need was found, if that's okay? Thank you.
Cool. So this goes back. Can everyone still hear me? Yeah, excellent. So this goes back to my previous response. So as I said before, we're in an incredibly fortunate position to be able to invest this £1.73 million across the sort of parks and green spaces. The team have gone away and assessed the need of what is required in those green spaces, and we have, 100. I think it's 184 green spaces all in all across Bolton that we look after. But the assessment of need based on the sort of team leaders, the operational staff, the managers, and they've come together with this investment plan for that 4.5 money, for the Section 106 money, for the external funding, for that budget allocation of this £600,000, and that's what we've come up with. So we've brought these proposals forward to be considered by the portfolio holder, in addition to those different layers. So taking that sort of full borough approach and view of things, we can see where that need is the highest, and the investment of this £600,000 addresses some of that need.
And I did there's been no consultation with any other councillors. The officers have only consulted with me, and I set them the task of investment into large parks, medium-sized parks and small parks, play areas across the borough, and also large and small areas of open space, recreational space. And the officers have come up with exactly that in this budget proposal. So we have got large parks such as Mossbank Park, medium-sized parks such as, say, Haslam Park, a smaller park like ABC Park, play areas from all across the Bolton, west to east, and large and small areas of open space such as King George V playing fields and Whitehall Lane, which is a very small recreational area. So they've covered everything which I asked them to do. So we'll move on to Councillor Conor Bennett.
Oh, sorry, if I may, Chair, sorry. I don't doubt the variability, but like you say, I don't think there's been much consultation. So I think there are some colleagues who feel like their area might be perhaps missing out because it's sort of like from a top-down approach. But I appreciate, you sort of led it from a sort of like a dare I say technocratic approach, sort of. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure. So we'll go to Councillor Conor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple of questions, if that's okay. Just asking where's the allocation for the south of the borough? There doesn't seem to be anything in the Farnworth South or Kersley. This was despite Ellesmere Park being used as an example, potential example, in the PGB meeting that was held, but there's nothing in there now. And would it be possible for elected members to have a list of parks and green spaces that have had money allocated to them, highlighting what's been done and when they've completed or they're due to complete? Thank you.
Well, I can see £104,000 additional investment in paint.
Sorry, Councillor, you're dropping away sound-wise.
In this, can you hear me now properly?
Not really.
No. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I was saying in this report, there's 140,000 of additional investment into Moses Gate Country Park. That's listed. All of the things which are listed, itemised. It comes to £140,000. Now that's in Farnworth, in the south of the borough. and Moses Gate Country Park almost stretches to Kersley. So when you're saying there's nothing for the south of the borough and Farnworth area, it's right there in the report.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chair. We've done a lot of significant investment out of our ward funds into the parks in Farnworth South. Just wanted to raise it really. There doesn't seem to be anything for Farnworth South, and as you quite rightfully say, Moses Gate does edge on to Kersley. But I think just the park in Ringley had some investment last year, was there, through Section 106?
All right. This is additional investment. It did go through the budget meeting of the council. There were only 2 groups who supported the budget, but we were very keen to get investment all around the borough, which this report does. So I'm happy with it, and there is investment in Moses Gate Country Park. Like I say, there are so many parks, play areas, and open spaces throughout the borough. 600 and like this additional 600,000, it can't cover every single park, play area, and open space. But I think the officers have done a great job in getting a fantastic mix, large, small, play areas around the borough. So go over to our Assistant Director, Gary Parker.
It was to answer the second part of your question, Councillor Connor Bennett. We are able to provide a list of work that's taken place from the previous budget amendment for 4.5, the Section 106 and external funding, and I'm more than happy to provide that with you. And I'll share the spreadsheets because it's all gone through the governance process, and it just tells me where, how much, when it started, when it's looking to be completed, or whether it's not started yet. So I will share that offline with you. That's not a problem whatsoever. I'll make sure that lands in your inbox, Councillor.
Thank you.
Great. So if there's no further questions, anybody else got any questions? No? Right. I'll approve the proposed programme of works set out in the report, authorise the Director of Place to proceed with procurement and finalise appointment in accordance with the Council's standing orders relating to contracts, approve the waiver of bylaws relating to parks and recreation grounds as appropriate to enable works and permanent structures as detailed in this report, authorise the Borough Solicitor to carry out all necessary legal formalities, and authorise the Borough Treasurer to carry out all necessary financial formalities. So all that's approved and authorised. We go back to our Assistant Director, Gary Parker, for item number 7, which is the increase in establishment for service improvement proposals for environmental assets by creating permanent in-house teams.
Thank you, Chair. Environmental assets is a key service area within the Department of Place, and on February of this year, full council approved an investment of £350,000 into environmental assets, recognising its critical role in delivering high quality public spaces and green infrastructure across the borough. This area manages the grounds in cemeteries. That operational oversight was passed to Laurie and her team for a while. This is now back with environmental assets, and we are looking to invest in that team to make it a more permanent fixture. So what we're looking to do is increase the sort of investment in those areas which, you know, that are dear to people's hearts, look at cost efficiency and service quality. We are reliant on seasonal and or temporary staff in these areas, and that has a number of issues associated with it, which you can find in the report. But when we have a reliance on temporary or agency or seasonal staff, we have issues around reduced quality control. It's a very reactive delivery service and not planned as we'd like it to be. There's some reputational risk there, and you may recall last year we were criticised because the level of care in those areas weren't as high as we'd have liked them to be, and there's inefficiencies within the service using that temporary model. The core responsibilities of that team include turf management and lawn care, landscape improvement, tree and shrub care, memorial and grave maintenance, hard service maintenance, seasonal operations around gritting, snow clearance, leaf clearance, and an element of community engagement with supporting volunteers, friends of, and events. The £350,000 which has been allocated in the budget, we believe will be best spent by increasing the structure on a permanent basis by a number of 9, and that would include a career grade team leader, 3 neighbourhood care operative charge hands, and 5 operatives. Now, that team, if approved, would provide a year-round maintenance across cemeteries and formal green spaces, establish a consistent and professional image for the service, enable better supervision, quality assurance and operational planning. It will support training and development with progression routes for operatives to charge hands to team leader. Will be fully integrated with friends of groups, volunteer groups and community engagement work, and maintain clear focus and accountability for cemetery and formal site standards. The impact of that recruitment process is the allocation of the entire budget, £350,000, £13 over actually, but we'll find the £13. You can see there in section 4.3.1 those proposed titles and grades in there. The ask of yourself, Chair, is to consider that investment of that £350,000 in that team of 9 who we can then invest in, who will then make our cemeteries and green spaces in those areas significantly better. We've done some of this work already with regards to temporary staff and tried this model. You will see if you are connected to your green spaces and cemeteries that the standard of care and maintenance is significantly higher. So much so we've been recognised nationally for that, and we'd like to do this on a more permanent basis. So the recommendation, as set out in section 8 and on the front of the report, is what I would like you to consider, please, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Sure. Any questions for our Assistant Director on this report? If not, if there's no questions, then I'll certainly approve the increase of £358,000 to the service revenue budget starting in 2025-26 and continuing annually to support the enhanced provisions outlined in the report. This investment will include a permanent expansion of the service establishment as described in the report. I endorse the proposed increase in capacity in accordance with the business case presented. I authorise the Borough Solicitor to complete any necessary legal formalities and authorise the Borough Treasurer to complete any necessary financial formalities. So that's all approved and authorised. So thank you again, Gary, for your work. Could you also pass my thanks to John Gregory and Neil Martin, our Green Space officers as well, for their work on this report.
Thank you, Chair.
And then we go to our final item on the agenda. It's item 8, and this is a request for a public consultation on a draft green space strategy. So it's back to yourself, Gary.
Thank you, Chair.
Just to highlight, Chair, that there's a revised report that came
yes,
after the main bundle. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with answering the revised report. There was some typos, a change of image, and some bullet points we needed putting in. They have been corrected. Apologies for the late change in report, but they were very, very minor. We just wanted to make sure the output from the Place Directorate was and remains high quality. So In its document, Introduction to the Green Infrastructure Framework, Natural England states green infrastructure should be designed and managed as a multifunctional resource capable of delivering a wide range of environmental and quality of life benefits for local communities. The last green space strategy for Bolton was published in 2007. This is something that we have worked on and we have refreshed, and what I'm bringing to you today to consider is a 15-year strategy which will take us from 2025 to 2040. This allows us to incorporate changes in legislation such as biodiversity net gain from the Environmental Protection Act in 2021. There are a number of key priorities in this strategy that we're bringing forward, and that our open spaces are safe, protected and accessible for all, and they're the key priorities. The strategic aims of the document are to ensure Bolton's parks and green spaces contribute to the reduction of climate change, increase wildlife and biodiversity, provide broad opportunities for residents and visitors to improve their health and well-being by visiting Bolton's parks and green spaces, to work with residents to ensure Bolton's green spaces reflect the needs of communities across the borough, to work closely with the voluntary sector in improving and developing Bolton's green spaces, and to ensure Bolton's green spaces are protected for future generations. The ask of this report is that you allow us to go to consultation for a period, and this will be the draft report. You can see is in the back in Appendix 2, I believe, and you can see there the draft green space strategy we wish to push out. We will highlight this to our internal and external stakeholders, particularly the voluntary and care services, charities, our Clean and Green Partnership and our partner wildlife organisations. We want to make sure everyone has sufficient time to feed into this, and I know there's a lot of appetite for this with our Clean and Green partners who really want to feed into it and are passionate about making sure we've got this document correct. It's a 15-year strategy, so we want to go to consultation and make sure we get some high quality feedback to make sure we have a document which is fit for purpose for the next 15 years. So the ask of yourself, Councillor Sylvester, is to consider the recommendations as set out in section 8 and on the front page of the report. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Oh, thank you, Gary. And I know that when you mention our partners in the environment in Bolton, they're asking about feeding into this process. Certainly Bolton Green Umbrella, they've been asking myself as exec cabinet member when this consultation will take place, because they're very keen to give feedback on this draft strategy. So I know it's going to be very important strategy. This, I think it's an excellent document which officers have produced, and I'm interested in what the feedback will be from groups around Bolton. We'll open this up to questions for Gary. First to indicate is Councillor Ali. I think you're frozen, Councillor Ali. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I think something happened and it said anyway.
It may be Councillor Ali's Wi-Fi connection. I think it's your Wi-Fi connection. But start again, Councillor Ali.
I just wanted to say how impressed I am with this report. And, you know, just wanted to congratulate everybody who's worked on it. I know you said there's still going to be some consultation.
Yep.
So I just wanted to clarify that what's going to be approved by the exec member, there's still room or scope, or is that all the consultation that's been done with?
Well, all I'm doing today is approving that a consultation can take place. That's all I'm approving. So I'll approve that a consultation can take place, and then it will. And then all of our partner organisations, councillors, yourself, Councillor Ali, can all feed into that consultation.
Great.
And it'll be a 6-week consultation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great stuff.
Okay, so go to Councillor Hewitt now.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, aspect of the report absolutely welcome. It's good that it will go out to consultation. I was reading through it, and some of the aims around sort of like priority to be given to improving local access to good quality green spaces, and collaboration and co-production with sort of like local areas and local users. It's good, and it mentions in the strategy and the aims, but I'm still quite, well, frankly, cross really about sort of what happened to the Village Green application in my ward specifically, around Horrocks Field, and how it was taken back, and the decision sort of overturned by the licensing committee. Those local residents who had sort of wanted a Village Green and campaigned for it sort of in a really sort of thoroughgoing and honest and really earnest way, and hoped that the council would back them. They didn't get that backing, and I see in this at the moment, this draft, there's no mention of Village Greens or town greens, that sort of thing. So I hopefully that might be something that comes forward eventually. But when those local residents were, I know I'm bringing sort of like a ward issue, and it's more of a comment and a gripe here, but it's a big aspect of if you see these strategic aims and then you don't see it replicated on the ground, that they weren't backed up, then it's kind of it's really upsetting for those residents. So I think you've got to be conscious of that, really, and how they feel hung out to dry, really, and how the council, as the approving authority, didn't back them. So I welcome the consultation. Absolutely, let's bring it forward. But it's one of those sorts of things. It's not mentioned here, and it kind of sticks in the craw when it comes forward, and they've had their local access to a quality green spaces denied them, really. So I'll leave it there, Chair.
I just want to check with officers. None of my I wasn't involved in that decision. Nothing came to me about the licensing committee decision. I just want to check with officers whether any of you in neighbourhoods or green space were involved in what occurred regarding that decision.
No, I was not.
No. And I just also want to check this draft strategy. Is this just for council owned land, or is it for other land in the borough?
We can't comment on land that is not owned by us because we have no control over that. So this is council land.
Sure, exactly. And that land which we're referring to, Councillor Hewitt, and I understand absolutely, because I fought for a Village Green, but that was on council owned land, and I was successful when I was a Horwich North East councillor in getting Cedar Avenue playing field, which is council owned land, as a Village Green. Now, that was very successful, that application. It is a Village Green now, but I understand the piece of land in your own ward is private land. It's not council land. So we have no neighbourhoods and green space. My office just clarified we weren't involved in any of that. So I presume this draft strategy wouldn't include an area of land which Councillor Hewitt was talking about. Is that our officers in agreement with me?
Sorry, yes, I wasn't loud enough. I said yes, Councillor, correct.
Yeah, sure. So I understand what you're saying, Councillor Hewitt, but this draft strategy wouldn't cover what you were talking about. So we'll go to the director.
Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, John.
John, you're on mute.
Apologies. It was just a broad point, really. I think that there are limitations on the scope and the influence that we could exert. Well, this is a very important piece, as members have acknowledged, and I think probably one of the points I just wanted to make is that we actually delayed the consultation process itself externally, because we wanted to ensure across the council itself, because we have so many stakeholders, whether that be public health, our planning service, our land and property team, we wanted to ensure that all officers had the opportunity to input and shape the actual the product that is the emerging green space strategy, whilst not necessarily being able to respond or address the specific point that Councillor Hewitt raised. What consultation does, of course, is afford members of the public the opportunity to comment on the breadth and the scope of the green space strategy, and I think that's why we are keen to move into this consultation phase. Obviously, when we close that process, which Councillor Sylvester has indicated will be a 6-week consultation period, then we will of course evaluate and appraise the various comments which come back. That may result in additional drafting, review and amendments to the existing draft, and then the next time we bring things forward, then at that point in time, we'll be seeking executive cabinet member approval for the strategy itself, or it may be, given the potential cross-cutting nature, that the strategy moves into the cabinet domain. But at this point in time, we're really eager, as is the cabinet member, to move into consultation phase. So, as I say, Councillor Hewitt, not necessarily addressing your specific point, but keen to just emphasise the opportunity, I guess, that public consultation does afford residents and other stakeholders across the borough. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Councillor, we can't hear you. Councillor Sylvester.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back. Yeah.
We'll go back to Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying in terms of council ownership, but as we all know, sometimes local authority, the legislation that governs us, and it doesn't mean that our responsibilities start and stop at the land that we own. There are many areas where we cross over into, the duties of the local authority in planning, and other areas where, land that we don't own falls under our auspices in regulatory terms. So I mean, I accept the point, and I think I welcome the director's contribution in terms of, it can, let's bring it forward to consultation. I think I definitely welcome and agree with that. Let's bring it forward to consultation, and if local people want to comment on the breadth and scope, then absolutely. But thank you very much anyway, Chair. Thank you.
We've lost you again, Councillor Sylvester, just in terms of volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We can.
Yeah. So, Councillor Ali.
Yeah. I was going to wait for the consultation to put this in, but in case I missed that 6-week period for whatever, strategic priorities 5.2, community involvement. I just wondered whether we could add a box in, like you've done in other places, where it says to identify, enhance and improve, which you have, unused or overgrown urban green space. Because I do feel that there's a lot of overgrown, unused green space pockets, and I do see across the country on some of my other committees that I serve on, that pocket parks are very popular now. Small pocket parks where it's been urbanized for decades, just by people recognizing that there's this clump of land that's been overgrown for decades, and now we can make it into. So yeah, that'd be nice if we got that in 5.2. That's it. Sorry.
Duly noted, Councillor. Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
Submit that feedback for the.
Can't really hear you, Councillor Sylvester.
I was saying, can you hear me now?
No, can't hear.
No.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, be back.
Yeah.
Right. So I was saying, Councillor Ali, do put that feedback into the consultation, which you've just mentioned, then it's officially part of it. But I'm very supportive of pocket parks, definitely. We've got there's a great pocket park called Sparrow Park at the bottom of Brownlow Road in Horwich. That's a fantastic example of a pocket park. So if there's no further questions, I'll approve that officers carry out a period of public consultation in respect of the Council's draft Green Space Strategy 2025 to 2040. So that's approved for the consultation to take place. And that's all the items on the agenda. So we're at the end of the meeting. So can I thank everybody for the patience? It's been quite a long meeting. We've had a lot of reports. Can I thank officers for preparing them all and presenting this evening? We've had a few little technical glitches, but we've got through those as well. So can I say to everybody, thank you very much, and I'll see you at the next Executive Cabinet member meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
members.
you,
Night.
Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.